A full-on marketing team, like a director of marketing, an editor, all this, it might be $15,000 to $25,000 a month. You can have 5 AI agents doing the work of an entire marketing team for $200 a month. So you can do it faster, easier, better, smarter. However, you have to adapt. The times that were yesterday are gone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Life podcast. Today, I am very excited to share with you someone who has been a mentor to me for many, many years. His name is John Assaraf. I'll read you his bio, but I also want to tell you just a little bit about what he's meant to me. The movie The Secret, when it first came out many years ago, really had a big impact on my life. I've always been very big into personal development and, how your mindset, affects and actually creates your reality. And so when I watched the movie The Secret, John, before I knew him, before I ever met him, he was always my favorite one in the movie The Secret. You may remember, if you ever saw the movie The Secret, he was the one who actually had a vision board. And this is a true story. He had a vision board of a mansion that he wanted to live in. And then he actually later moved into the mansion, didn't realize it, had his son one day prompted him to open up a box with some old pictures, and he pulled out his old vision board and saw that they were actually living in the exact house that he visualized on his vision board. So in case you weren't convinced of the power of visualization and positive mindset, and a lot of the things that John teaches, he really, really proved it there. So let me read his quick bio as well. John Assaraf is a world-renowned mindset and success expert. He's appeared numerous times on Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, and the Ellen DeGeneres Show. He has built 5 multi-million-dollar companies, written 14 books, including 2 New York Times bestsellers, and appeared in 16 movies, including The Secret and A Quest for Success with Richard Branson and the Dalai Lama. He is passionate in helping people tap into their brain's superpower so they shatter limitations and achieve their full potential. And John founded myneurogym.com, which is revolutionizing mindset coaching and mental fitness training. And his new powerful Inner Size app helps people rewire their brain for unstoppable success. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome, and it's so great to be back with you for, I think this is the second episode we've done. We did one a few years ago, and it's funny, you were talking about the movie The Secret. There is the house that was on my vision board. This is my digital vision board that I have to remind me of everything is possible when you set your mind to it. So maybe we'll use that as a springboard to whatever we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's the first episode was incredible. Your book Inner Size had recently just come out, and what you taught and what I read following in the book Inner Size afterwards was really game changing for me. And just to kind of refresh people on that concept, we all talk about exercise. How many episodes have we had about exercise on this podcast? But what about inner size? What about exercising your inner game, your mindset, and those kind of things? So that's what John is really an expert in. And one thing I always say is, look, there's a million podcasts out there on, here, if you follow this diet and follow this exercise plan, you'll get results. But the question is, why aren't people doing it? So that's one thing I really want to jump in here with you today, John, is, if people know what they should be doing, why aren't they doing it? And maybe, giving people some tools and resources where they can start doing what they know they should be doing.
Sure. I mean, it's a great question. The thing that we know today, Laura, that we didn't know, 15, 20 years ago, is that the brain is made up of different parts. Like your body is made up of different organs. Your liver does this, and your heart does this, and your calf does this, and your shoulder does this. Most people originally thought that, well, the brain works as like one unified system. And what we've come to realize in the last, 10, 15, 20 years is there's different parts of our brain that we can activate to do different things. So, for example, when we are, let's say, reading a book or watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, There's a specific part of the brain, the auditory cortex, of course, the visual cortex, if you're watching, of course, and they're active, and the amygdala for managing, the emotions of how we feel during, what we're learning. And then there's another part of the brain called the hippocampus that is responsible for gathering this short-term information. And we can gather this short-term information. We can be motivated saying, God, that guy, that girl, that thing he says or she says, that's exciting. That's great. I want to do this. And we feel motivated. We feel excited. But unfortunately, the brain doesn't just say, oh, great, just because you're aware of this or know this and you're excited about it, am I going to override your habitual patterns of doing what you're normally used to doing that is safe, convenient, and does not require much energy? So herein lies the problem. We can get motivated. We can take immediate action right now, or say tomorrow morning I'm going to do this, and you get up and you're all filled with the motive for the action. But very, very quickly, another part of the brain that is responsible to conserve energy says, hey, you're using up valuable energy, and I need to save that energy in case there's a saber-toothed tiger that I need you to fight. And then if that information is not transferred into a part of the brain where the habits are that run automatically, called the cerebellum and the striatum specifically. And then we get motivated, we take a little bit of action, then we stop. Not because we want to stop. We haven't trained this system of ours to override the current easy follow through behaviors and thoughts and emotions that we've built over the last year, 2, 3, 10, 20. And then we wonder why we learn and get excited, but then we don't follow through. There's nothing wrong with you. You just don't know how yet to create, an override of the old programming or conditioning. But in visual terms, if you're a coder and you code an app, and the app doesn't work to your satisfaction, or there's better coding in a month or 3 or a year, you can upgrade the software. We do it with our phones. We do it with our cars. We do it in so many other areas of our life. Well, why not our brain? Mm-hmm. And so we're starting to understand that awareness and information, yes, it's the beginning of what can be change, but we also know that it takes about 66 days to 365 days of repetition to rewire, recode, refire, and reinforce a new habit to override the old habit. So the first thing I tell people is this is not a weekend retreat where things change. If you want to go on a diet this weekend and not eat a thing for 3 days, you lose 10 pounds, mostly of water, mostly of shit, mostly of everything you don't want to lose, like muscle. So you can go on these crash courses and crash, behaviors, but the people who really get it are people like the astronauts that train for a year or 2 or 3 to develop the unconscious habits, an athlete preparing herself for the Olympics, a Navy SEAL preparing for battle underwater, right? The people who get how the brain works practice to make new permanent patterns. Mm-hmm. The people who are just playing at the game as amateurs, winging it, they just hey, it didn't work. So here's what I tell all my students. Don't get involved in any of my coaching unless you commit to 100 days of a little bit of perfect practice every day, period. And that's why I've got tens of thousands of success stories. And I've also got a lot of people who don't get involved in my programs because they're not committed to the process. They want to wing it and try their way. And it's been proven for decades. It just doesn't work.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I was actually having this conversation just earlier today with someone, and they said something like, "Oh yeah, well, I went through that personal development course a few years back or something like that." And I said, "Okay, well, what have you done recently? It's not, you can't just read a book 3 years ago and then it's done. Right? There's got to be constant, how much spending time on yourself, the best investment you can make in yourself, and learning these things and constantly refreshing, keeping it fresh in your mind. Just because you read a book or went to a seminar 5 years ago, that's gonna wear off if you don't keep a practice and keep it going and keep, you know what I mean?
Yeah, listen, people are listening to, billions of hours of podcasts, um, billions of hours of YouTube videos, reading, I don't know how many umpteen books. Those give you awareness,
Mm-hmm.
awareness of what's possible. They activate emotions to cause you to feel like you're doing something. But learning, real learning, happens when you take the action, you achieve the result, you have this visceral experience, emotions, with how it was done, what was the result, what were the errors, what were the successes, and now you have a foundation for understanding. And then through spaced repetition, because our brain needs time to formulate and reinforce and prune the patterns that are created during the day. The pruning and the reinforcement happens at night during proper circadian rhythm sleep. Most people think that if I do it once or twice or three times, I've learned it. I know it because I read it or did it once or twice or three times. And that's just not the truth. Our brain will wire a negative, traumatic experience 10,000 times faster than a positive, fun, wonderful experience wiring in the brain. And it does that because of survival and safety mechanisms for the survival of the species and protection of the species. So to learn a new language doesn't happen this weekend. We can learn words this weekend. We can converse a bit this weekend. We might be able to have a couple of little minor conversations if we invest enough time in it. But to really get better at anything, to have more empowering beliefs, to have a stronger self-image and identity and self-worth, to develop skills, it just takes a lot more than the average person is willing to invest. And it's a shame because every brain functionally works the same. Every brain functionally works the same. But not every human who owns a brain uses it functionally better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you talk a lot about, I'm sure everyone is, I know I'm jumping out of my, my standing desk here, ready to say, how do I rewire my brain? Right. Like that's where we kind of go to. And I know you talk a lot about beliefs and limiting beliefs and how identity is related to that. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know you talk about a lot about beliefs and limiting beliefs, and eventually I want to get to how do we really rewire this brain?
Yeah, so I think it's important, we throw around the word belief and habit and values and identity and self-image and self-confidence, just like it's some, inconsequential thing. And I think it's important for you to be able to understand is you weren't born with the beliefs that you have. You actually weren't born with even one belief. You weren't born with the belief, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm transgender, I'm gay, I'm this, I'm white, I'm black, I'm Asian. You weren't born with any frameworks. So first, let's understand that a belief from a neuroanatomist perspective is when the brain cells fire, right? We have about 85 billion brain cells. When we see something, hear something, smell something, taste something, experience something, brain cells get active in our brain. And those brain cells get active and they're like paying attention. And they say that the neurons or brain cells that fire together will wire together. So if mom or dad or brother or sister or teacher or television or cartoon, that you're watching over and over and over again says something is true, like all of these people are assholes, or it's really hard to make money, or it's really easy to climb mountains, whatever you hear a lot when you're really, really, really young, when the brain is formulating its map of reality, like new roads, those neurons are firing and then they are connecting, or it's known as wiring. But the neurons that wire and fire together that are repeated become more soft wired or fixed, almost like building a highway system in a city. Once the highway system is built, then you have to recreate a new highway system or renovate it in order to change or add lanes and or make them better. So our brain, the belief system, is nothing more than a reinforced pattern. That's all. A habit is nothing more than a series of reinforced patterns. Our self-image is nothing more than a belief, that we have about who we are, how much we can earn, what we deserve, what's possible for us. So if you went to engineering school, you'd have this belief that, if you become an engineer, then you're probably going to have a safe job and you're going to make $100,000 to $250,000 a year. And that's kind of like your paradigm. And so we develop these beliefs, these self-image, these expectations, these social norm paradigms. And then our brain doesn't see all of the options. Our brain then validates what we believe to be true by finding the evidence that's already out here and deleting all the other possibilities. And then even if we see, a possibility, a friend, a person that is like doing what we want to do, but we're in this paradigm, our brain will delete, distort, and rationalize why we shouldn't take action or why we can't. And it basically will tell you rational lies. Rational lies. So the mechanisms by which we've been conditioned create the reinforcement pattern that our brain looks for. And so first, our family and friends and teachers help us create these beliefs and habits and self-images, but then they all reinforce themselves without anybody else's help, unless we're still in that same environment. So we basically have to do a renovation plan on ourselves. And that's why I created exercises to strengthen new neural networks. Just like you go to the gym to exercise to strengthen your organs and muscles and cardiovascular system or nervous system. Why not create, a way to upgrade your self-image, self-worth, identity? And why not create empowering beliefs instead of disempowering ones?
Absolutely.
Right. So a disempowering belief is I can't achieve X, Y, or Z, that because you have a reason. That's your story. But is it real? Is that true? Or is it what you believe to be true? And so that's where I've been fascinated with. How do I, rewire my own brain? Because I was brought up in a I don't know if it was a poor family, but my father was a gambler and alcoholic. My mother worked at a local department store, and they had a lot of debt and never enough money as a result of my father gambling mostly. And so I believe that money was scarce. And because I didn't do well in school, I believe that I wasn't smart enough to do well in life.
And then what happened? How did you get to the point where you were able to recognize that and turn that around?
Yeah. My brother introduced me to this guy who was a very successful entrepreneur, who was a real estate developer, who had 7 real estate offices and 500 real estate agents. And he was very into personal development. He was a follower of Napoleon Hill and Zig Ziglar and Tommy Hopkins and all of the guys in the 60s and 70s, and some of the people even before that. W. Clement Stone, Earl Nightingale, some of the forefathers of the personal development industry. And my brother got him to meet with me, and he started to explain things to me like I am to people today. And I was like, wow, that sounds fascinating. And he said, you're not dumb like your grades in school are showing you. You're just not in an environment that's fostering your growth. And I fell behind by 2 years in school when I was a kid because my parents moved from Israel to Montreal and I didn't speak the language in grade 1 and 2. So I fell behind, and there were 50, 60 kids in the class. It was no fault of the teachers. It was like we were in a poor neighborhood with schools that were overloaded with kids that were all immigrants. And many of us just, we looked at the ceiling and looked at them, prodded each other and elbowed each other and got into trouble. But we didn't learn very well because the teacher couldn't teach 60 kids at once. There weren't teachers' aides. There weren't parents in school at the time. Everybody was working if they could get a job. But I just had one person who cared and took me under his wing and showed me the way. He helped me understand how powerful every brain was. He helped me set some goals. Develop the beliefs required to achieve those goals, develop the daily behaviors to make the goals more of a reality than hoping and praying. And because I was in an office of a bunch of new real estate agents, we all had to follow the plan, for 30 days, 60 days, 100 days. And yes, we had a manager that made sure we followed the plan that was laid out for us. And even though I was working on commission only, zero income, at least the job I had before, I was making $1.65 an hour in the shipping department of Philips Electronics. But here I was making zero. And if I wanted to make money, I had to make 100 phone calls a day. If I was going to make 100 phone calls a day, I had to learn what to say. I had to learn the script, the objections. I had to learn if they said this, I said that. So while I was doing my review of my goals every day, reading my affirmations, closing my eyes and seeing myself achieving $10,000 a month, which was my first goal back in 1980, a long time ago. I had to learn how to override you're not making $10,000 a month. That's bullshit that was going on in my head when I was reading my affirmations and emotionalizing it, acting as if, pretending I was a Hollywood actor, acting as if I was making $10,000 a month, where I didn't have money to eat. Forget about $10,000 a month to buy the car and the house that I wanted. But I didn't stop. And within 6 months, not 3 months, I was making $10,000 a month.
Incredible.
But I was making the calls. I was handling the objections. I was getting a bloody nose with people hanging up on me and people swearing at me. And I was going through all of the normal things that you go through as you're shifting, changing, adapting, learning, and growing. But I was taught not to take the failure personally. So I was taught these things. I was taught to develop personally. So I didn't have the right training from my father, who did his best, but he went to grade 5, wasn't an educated guy, drove a cab, drank too much, went to gamble every day. My mother worked as a local seamstress, trying to make ends meet and help our family. My brother and sister were at school, 6 and 9 years older than I was, so I didn't really see them much. But I had this mentor that I didn't see him a lot, but he gave me the opportunity, showed me what to do, put me in the environment where, I had to do it or I'd get fired. And I just moved from Montreal to Toronto. I didn't know anybody except for my brother there. So I did the work, and I worked on myself for 1 hour a day. 7 hours a week, 28, 30 hours a month, 120, 30 hours, over nine months, double that for 6 months. And I went from $1.65 an hour to 10 grand a month 45 years ago.
Wow.
So there was a framework of mindset plus skill set plus consistently taking the right actions in the right order at the right time. I just got better. And I went from conscious effort to unconscious competence where I could just do it. And then I could add a little bit of complexity and intensity. But first, you want to develop the success habits. Then those habits will build you.
Yes. Amazing. And, kind of getting into some of those habits for people, or so a couple of things actually first on what you just mentioned. Number one, it sounds like what you listen to, what you put in your mind, who you choose as a mentor. And by the way, this is such an incredible story because you've now come full circle and you're now this mentor to thousands of people who, just like you had a mentor teaching you, you're now teaching others as a mentor to thousands of people who I know. I've been to your events. I've seen the lives that you've changed. It's really incredible. So just amazing to see you come full circle like that. So one thing I got is be very careful of what, this is one thing I'm pretty aware of. Like I try actually not to watch violent movies or violent things like that. I don't want to be around people who are kind of constantly telling me no. In fact, I was part of a group of business people. And what I found was I actually outgrew that group over time because many people in the group were saying, no, you're not going to be able to grow your business that much. No, you're not going to be able to do this, or you're not going to be able to do that. And I said, well, this is not the type of group I want to be in. So I ended up leaving the group, and things have grown since then, which is amazing. So let's maybe talk. So there are certain practices, certain habits. I know visualization is one thing you specialize in and talk about a lot. That's a really, really powerful thing. I know it's made a huge impact in my life. What are some of the kind of daily habits? If people were, for example, involved in some of your programs, what are some of the things you're taking your students through?
The nucleus of all of my programs is inner size. So a daily 5 to 20 minutes of inner work. So inner work could be as simple as sit quietly for 5 minutes and just observe your thoughts and feel your body. Just interoception, internal. Sit quietly for 5 minutes and observe the environment you're in, the room you're so used to. Just exteroception is what it's called, is just be familiar with your environment. Is it clean? Is it messy? Is it lift you up, or does it kind of make you feel dim? Are things in the right order? Does it inspire you or expire? So pay attention. Part one. Part two, invest 5 minutes on affirming what you want. And just start with, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I am capable of achieving my goals. So use language patterns for a few minutes. Then do some inner sizes to see the goals that you have. So for example, the reason I showed you this, I have my Exceptional Life Blueprint, one of the programs that I teach people. In my blueprint, I have my vision board. Let me just see if I have my goals, in visual, things I've achieved, places I've been. That's me skiing. That's a house we rented in Bora Bora. That's where our house is in Telluride. That's a house we rented in the Maldives. So I put things I've already done and achieved, whether it's charting a yacht or having a home, wherever. So first and foremost, I take a look at every day things I've accomplished. Why? I want to remind myself of where I've come from.
Yep.
So first, I'm firing those neurons to remind me you did this. I combine that with things I want to create. Like I want to have the NeuroGym Research Institute, okay, as part of what we do. So I've got an image of what the research institute that I want to build. I have pictures that remind me, focus like an eagle, have fun and be smart like dolphin. This guy's in his 70s. He was my inspiration for my 6-pack, at 50 and 60, and now my 8-pack at 64. My lucky number, watches that I like. So I remind myself of these things. By the way, this was like 3 weeks ago, right? This was 4 years ago. But why am I showing this? Because part of this over here is I want to show you something. Where is it? The story of my life. So I write out, a story. I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I've achieved this, I've done this, I've helped this. And what I'm achieving and doing now is this, this, and this, and this. And the difference it's making in the world and the impact and influence it's having is this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm earning this and giving this and traveling here and experiencing this. And I write out a story in present tense. And then every day, I'll take a portion of it or all of it, depending on how much time I have, and I practice it like a New York play. Mm. Now, why would I want to do that? And the answer is because I want to fire and wire the neurons that will elicit the motive for the action required for me to take. So every day, just like I usually wake up, I meditate, I exercise, I go to the gym, I do the inner work a little bit each day to create the biocomputer network and circuitry to follow through and get my Assaraf into action based on what I am choosing to trade my life for versus what I've already traded my life for, which is my current results.
Incredible. I think this is something that is in my opinion, this might be the thing that people miss that is the most important thing. And that is taking this time for yourself, right? Doing your inner sizes, doing your visualization. Actually, there are very few people that I know that I speak with that have actually taken the time to design their life.
I know.
Literally, most people, right? You wake up, you grab your phone, you start this, you're checking your messages, you're checking social media, you're checking your email, you're going into this, you're doing that. Oh, I'm just too busy. I'm too busy. But you've never actually stopped and designed, like you just talked about. You wrote out your ideal life. You visualize it. You remind yourself. It's an interesting story. I actually haven't told this many times, but when I sold a previous company, and for the couple years building up to selling that company, I visualized myself selling the company, and I visualized it happening. And then I went out and put my hands up and said yes and patted myself on the back. And then when it happened, I made sure I followed through with the visualization to just reconfirm this loop, this positive belief that what I visualize comes true. And I've continued now to do that. These are incredible practices.
Yeah, like everybody will get what I'm about to say and say, okay, so let's talk about astronauts, Olympic athletes, and Navy SEALs, okay? Or firefighters, I don't care. Let's go Olympic athletes. Whenever the next Olympics is, okay, it is 2028, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think the athletes that want to make the team and then win a medal are doing this week?
They're practicing.
Oh my God, what are they practicing? They're practicing different parts of whatever it is that they need to do, right? If they're an archer, they're practicing, releasing, the arrow, focusing, calming themselves down. The guys who are looking to make the Olympic basketball team for, any country, the gals that are looking to win a gold medal or silver or place bronze, swimming, they're practicing every morning. Let's go to NASA astronauts. Okay. What do you think they're practicing right now, getting ready for a spacewalk? Or do you think they just go out on a spacewalk? Or do they practice for a year or 2 or 3 to be able to get to do that? And if there's a specific mission, they practice that mission for years in many cases. Navy SEALs practice combat underwater. Rubik's Cube champions practice the Rubik's Cube. Spelling bee practice. Knitting champions practice. Cup stacking practice. Do you know what the average person never does that wants to achieve success? Practice.
Yeah.
They just do the same shit over and over again, or they try this, and then they try that, and then they try that, and then they try that, and they don't do any thinking about, creating a plan of what to do, implementing that plan, getting the feedback, and going, did it work or did it? What did I learn? What can I do better in the next iteration? That's the formula for success. I teach all of my students, think, plan, do, review. Think, plan, do, review. After you review, you think about it, you plan the next event, you do and review. And if you get into think, plan, do, review as a modus operandi for getting better, you'll achieve every goal in your life. And by the way, with AI now, you hardly have to even do any thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. We spoke briefly before we started recording, and you mentioned that you have, what was it, like a dozen digital workers now? Basically, you're using AI a lot in your business?
We have 14 digital employees, and I'll have 50 by the end of the year. So I'll give you an example. Since we're recording this on a Monday, hope you don't mind me saying that. This morning at 7 a.m., I received an email. In that email, my digital research employee that goes to all the TV stations, reads 28 magazines and 10 different podcasts that I want it to review around the topics of interest to me, either personally or business. It will go through all of the watching and reading based on criteria that I've taught my digital employee, just like teaching a regular employee. Here's the criteria of what I want you to do for me. We've educated our digital employee to review content and then give me a synopsis rating the content, on a scale of 1 to 10, how relevant it is. If it's an 8, 9, or 10, it gives me a synopsis of that with recommendations of what I should be doing for me to review. Every Monday, 7 a.m., that reports on my desk. So I don't have to read the 30 magazines or articles or podcasts. I can get a synopsis with the key salient points that I've trained my employee to find for me. That saves me 10 hours a week.
Yep.
Part 1. Part 2. Right now, for example, we're hiring 2 new people. In the normal hiring process in the past, I would write an ad. I would load that ad, let's say, into LinkedIn. People would submit their resumes. I would look at the resumes and say, yes, I like this one, maybe for that one, no for this one. Then all the yeses, we would literally send them questions to answer. They would send us a response. We would read them if we liked them. Then we get on an interview. Now, AI writes the ad based on the criteria. AI posts it up to LinkedIn. AI reads all the resumes and ranks them. It only accepts 10s, based on the criteria we have asked it to do. If people hit a 10, AI sends them an email with a link to create a video for us. It watches the video. It analyzes the video based on our criteria. And basically out of 100 resumes, it'll find the 3 that we need within hours instead of 2 weeks, which is normally how long it would take us. All AI powered. digital employees doing different things.
Incredible. Incredible. I know you've also had a series you've been doing, or a kind of virtual event that you've been doing for a long time, teaching people about how to win the game of money, and things like that, for people who want to really learn how to increase their wealth using a lot of the strategies as well. And what I love about you as well is the secret was a lot of like visualization and mindset stuff, but you've realized and you've incorporated the action part of it as well, and having the plan and being organized and taking consistent action and holding people accountable, which is really, really important as well.
Yeah, I had a coaching program for probably about 10 years on winning the game of money. And now I've been focusing a lot on small business owners, people who either want to start a business, are serious versus hobbyists, or people who have a business, and we're really focusing on our AI growth coaching. I got really fascinated with AI about 5 years ago, started teaching it 2.5 years ago. And I've taught over 25,000 students now. And so we really have a phenomenal push to help people use AI. I'm doing an event, for example, tomorrow. And let's say you were looking at a marketing, let's say a marketing team, a full-on marketing team, like a director of marketing, an editor, all this. It might be $15,000 to $25,000 a month. You can have 5 AI agents doing the work of an entire marketing team for $200 a month.
Wow.
So you can do it faster, easier, better, smarter. However, you have to adapt. The times that were yesterday are gone. Right now, AI has changed the whole landscape of business, and either you get on this once in a humanity opportunity, or you get left behind and wonder what in the world happened.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely agree. So yeah, you got great stuff there around business coaching, using AI for small business owners. And your bread and butter has also always been like the mindset and the planning and the coaching and things like that. Let's kind of circle this back a little bit now to a lot of listeners who are thinking about health, for example, and improving their health. And I do want to actually tell people as well about your business programs after. But if we related this back to health, let's say there's someone who's 20 to 50 pounds overweight. They've been kind of struggling. They feel lethargic. They haven't been able to lose that weight. They haven't been able to get in the shape they want of their life. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling like that?
Well, first I'll tell them I know how it feels. I used to be 243 pounds, which right now, as of this morning, is 50 pounds more than I weigh today. At 48, I was an alcoholic, diabetic, borderline diabetic, hypertensive, 33% body fat, 243 pounds of body weight. I'm 190. I was 193 this morning. I'm usually 197, and with under 10% body fat at 64 in 2 weeks. So number one is it's the identity and the self-image that will drive the behavior and the reinforcement of the patterns. Now, are there people that have genetic predispositions to being overweight, unhealthy? Yes. So I'm going to set those aside for now, even though they can get healthier. But if you're a person that has been leaner before, and over the years, for whatever reason, whether it's dietary, sleep, trauma, work, stress, food, whatever the reason or reasons, combinations of are, if you want to be healthier, then the path to getting healthier starts like this. Number one, what would ideal health look like for you? Let's start off with a vision, almost like a fantasy. If I was really healthy right now, I would weigh X amount, my body fat would be this, my diet would be this, my exercise would be this, my sleep would be this, I'd look in the mirror and I would feel this, and I'd have energy and vitality, and my wife or husband would be so attracted to me, and I would feel so good. Good, write that down. Part one. Part two, this is where 90% of the people are going to fall off. Ready? Here we go. Ask yourself this question. Am I interested in achieving that, or am I committed to achieving that? So first set the vision, the goal, the fantasy. And then ask yourself this question: am I interested? Am I committed? And here's your definition. When you're committed, you release, let go of, kick out the door, divorce your stories, reasons, and excuses why you can't or won't. If you're committed, you upgrade your identity, your beliefs, your habits, and your behaviors to match the vision and the goals that your fantasy has in place. But if you're committed, you will hem and haw and bitch and whine and complain and come up with every reason in the book except do whatever the fuck it takes. Yeah. Period. And until you're prepared to do that, don't set these goals that you're not prepared to follow through to completion on. Because most people don't know the difference between setting goals and achieving goals. Setting goals is a mental masturbation, emotional and conscious mind exercise. Achieving goals means you have to reset, refire, rewire the very set points that are keeping you on the train you're on the track you're on, going in the destination you already are facing. And so get a dose of reality and stop mental masturbating your way to frustration that you're not achieving your goals. If your goals are achievable, and they are, and you're not committed, you will never achieve them. Or you'll go on this weekend diet and you'll intermittent fast and go, oh, look, I lost 8 pounds, and you're going to gain 10 back. So stop doing the easy stuff for a temporary result. Should you use intermittent fasting in your strategy? Sure, but not as the core strategy because of what happens to metabolism in the brain and the body. Can you lower caloric intake? Yeah, but by no more than 300 to 500 calories a day. I want you to make a decision, not for a reason or a season. Make a decision for a lifetime and build the you that has the identity to be a lean, healthy, vibrant, energetic person at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80.
Yes.
Now, you want to lose weight for a weekend? Sure. You want it for a reason, a wedding, a date, summertime? Sure. But you will gain it back. And if you fail to understand the neuromechanics of change, you're just ignorant. You just don't know. And people who don't know lose over time.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the raw truth. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but that's just the raw truth. And I do it with a total loving heart to help people, because everybody's like selling you potions and lotions and freaking stupid shit, you know, that gives you empty promises. Then you go off to the next empty promise because you got all this excitement and the dopamine, you know, is released in your brain and you get some results, but then you lose the. Why not do the work once? Do the work once. All right. If you develop the strong, empowering, constructive, positive habits now, they're the ones that will build you later.
That's right. That's right. John, this has been incredible. I really want, again, like I said, what you've done is you've taken the visualization and a lot of these strategies that I know work, even if some people say they're woo-woo or whatever, you've paired those with the planning and the strategy and the action and the business knowledge. And you even mentioned getting, mindset and skill set and doing things like that. So for business owners, I know you have some programs. Please tell everyone where they can find you, learn more.
Sure.
I know you have an app, you have some programs. Would love to share that with people.
Sure. So if you want to do some inner sizes, you can get 7-day free trial, with the Inner Size app. And there's over 600 brain training inner sizes that explain what they are. But imagine having me as your mindset and mental fitness coach to rewire and refire your brain the right way. So there's the Inner Size app. Go to Google App Store or the iPhone App Store, INNERCISE. You want to read more about Inner Size? I've got my #1 Amazon best-selling book, Inner Size there. And it talks about all of the research around achieving goals and how to train your brain to achieve any goal. I'm on Instagram at John Assaraf. I'm on Facebook, John Assaraf. I'm on LinkedIn, John Assaraf. I'm on YouTube, John Assaraf. So you can hop into my ecosystem and sign up for one of my free events. Let me teach you, train you, and then take a look at one of our programs that might be of benefit to you. And if they are, great. If not, you'll still learn something that you'll be able to apply, like hopefully you did today.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved Inner Size. I thought the book was incredible, and I highly, highly recommend people follow John, get the book. If nothing else, get the book Inner Size and go through those inner sizes and do some of them and make it a practice. But I think you've done an incredible job today, kind of just really giving people the raw truth about what it takes. There are strategies that are proven to work, that will work for you if you implement them, if you're committed, like you mentioned as well, right? You got to be committed. So, John, this has been incredible. And I'm definitely going to be reaching out again at some point to do this again. Thank you so much for everything you're doing and all the people you're helping. I've seen it firsthand, and it's an honor to be your friend and to have you on this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be your friend, and thanks for inviting me again. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would really mean a lot to me if you would forward this episode along to any friends, family members, anyone that you think that would get value out of it and learn something important. The mission at Peak Performance is to help people prioritize and transform their health. And so if you think someone will get value, please, please, please do forward this episode along to them. Also, if you could please rate and review and subscribe on whatever podcast player you are listening to this on, we would greatly appreciate that as well. It means a lot. And I want to tell you about a couple of new products that we just released. You can get 20% off your first order at buypeakperformance.com. That's BUY peakperformance.com. We just released a brand new grass-fed beef protein isolate. This is my favorite new protein powder because it's great for muscle building and recovering and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't give the stomach discomfort and gas that a lot of people get from different types of proteins like whey protein. Some types of plant proteins can do the same as well. It seems to be really, really easy on the stomach while still giving all the great benefits of muscle building and everything else that you want from taking in adequate protein. So check out our new beef protein isolate. We have it in unflavored, which I actually mix and blend with my morning coffee every morning. We have a vanilla and we have a chocolate. You can buy it on Amazon, but again, you also do get 20% off your first order at buypeakperformance.com, BUY peakperformance.com. We've also recently released organic mushroom coffee. We have these in Keurig compatible K-cup coffee pods. We have organic mushroom coffee with lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, turkey tail, and chaga mushrooms blended with the high altitude organic coffee that we've been using and that we've been famous for years. So that's been a big hit, that one as well. You can get on our website or Amazon, any of our products. And of course, we're always famous for our organic green superfood powder that has almost 5,000 reviews on Amazon with a very high star rating. We're known as the best tasting USDA certified organic green superfood powder with over 25 plus organic ingredients. Again, we also have the organic red superfood powder. We still, of course, have the organic plant protein for those who do prefer the plant protein, but I'm really excited about this new beef protein isolate and all of our other products. We do have over 100 products, so just check us out if you type in Peak Performance Supplements on Amazon or if you go to buypeakperformance.com. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.